Welcome back to the Sapphic Gaze podcast. I am your host, Nisa, and with me, as always, is my partner, but not in a gay way, Ellie. Ellie, how is it going?
I feel like we need to cut the first 10 minutes of this because I was just telling you that I'm stressed, but I'm good apart from everyday life stress.
There you go. But since we have filmed the last episode, you've gotten married.
I got married. I got married.
So that's like good stress though, right?
Yeah. None of my life stress is coming from being married, which is, I'm counting as a win.
Yeah, definitely a win.
Yeah, if anything, Alex is helping me de-stress. Don't give me that look. You dirty bitch.
I didn't say anything. I said
I
nothing.
know you. I know you too well.
You can't know for sure what I was thinking.
She's been making me dinner. That's how she's been helping me de-stress.
Of course. Dinner is always the solution.
Mm-hmm. And it actually is perfect because I hate cooking. She loves cooking. It's almost like we're complete opposites, but somehow we attracted each other.
That's interesting. Do opposites tend to attract? I feel like that should be an episode.
I mean, what are you doing right now? Should we just film it now? So let's go for it.
You know what? That's a great idea. Let's do that. Let's just film this episode and make it opposites attract.
Okay, I'm down.
That was the worst segue we've ever done.
No, I feel like we've definitely had worse.
Probably, but that was pretty cheesy.
I'm going with it.
Okay, so if the audience has not figured out, our episode is Opposites Attract. So let's just dive right in. I gotta ask, because I ask always, do you think opposites actually attract? I know that's like the old trope, but so much of being in a relationship is having things in common. So why do we love opposites attracting so much?
I actually, and I know I joked about it in the segue, but Alex and I are genuinely opposite people.
No shit.
No, in every sense of the word, we are different. The only common traits we have outside of like basic values like political beliefs and human rights belief, apart from those basic things, we both work in a similar industry, and apart from that, like, complete opposite. Like I said, I hate cooking, she loves it. I like cleaning, she hates it. Yeah, in every sense of the word, we are polar opposites.
Well, and you brought up a good point there, because you had said your core beliefs are similar, though. So not exactly. And I feel like that's part of what, like, jumping a little bit further, what makes or breaks an opposites attract romance, because I've noticed characteristics are very different, but at their core they still have to have that same core belief system. And so if you don't see that, I feel like that's really what makes or breaks it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I don't think I could ever be attracted to somebody that didn't believe in like fundamental human rights or was polar opposite to my political beliefs. And Alex and I have like very minor differences in our beliefs, but we are both left-leaning, and so I could never be with somebody that's far right. We would just clash on too many fundamental issues that are important to me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the only good thing, I guess, about being like 100% a lesbian over here is very rare that I find like a hard right-leaning lesbian.
Yeah.
I've seen them though, and it's a trip.
I mean,
when I see them.
We were talking just this week about someone we found that were a right-leaning lesbian.
That's wild. I still don't understand it. Like how you could vote against your own best interests.
I just assume it's got to come back to some kind of I don't know, identity denial, something.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that. Or, I mean, and I mean, you see it in other areas with other minorities, but people who like their money more than their identity. And so, you know, I'm not saying that there's somebody present in like the US Supreme Court right now who clearly doesn't like their race, or actually there's a second one, or gender enough to not rule with, you know, money in the forefront of their thoughts. But
yeah. I feel like
what I'm talking about.
I think I do. Not naming names, don't sue us.
This is freedom of speech, damn it. That's protected for now.
But
We've
yes.
gotten off topic again. God damn it.
But yes, Opposites can attract to a degree.
To a degree. Do you want to just jump right into it and talk about some that worked, some that didn't work, or...
Yes, let
Okay.
me pull up.
But we said, so that we don't end on down notes, we're starting on the ones that we didn't like, so that we can end on happy notes. So let's try this again to see if that worked, because it seemed to work the one time we did it.
I actually didn't put down any that I disliked. I mean, I'm sure I have a few, but generally, because I feel like there are always an element of opposites attract in sapphic books, whether it's grumpy, sunshine, ice queen, Labrador, like those kind of polar opposite tropes.
Is Labrador the opposite of an ice queen?
I would say so. That's not official, but I'm going with it.
Okay.
So there's all, yeah. I feel like there's a thread in every sapphic book of opposites attract to a degree.
I can't think of any off the top of my head that don't feed into that, but I'm sure there has to be.
Yeah, to a degree. So I feel like I've gone with ones that I really enjoyed because I want to talk about them.
Okay, so I do have two that I enjoyed the books, so don't get me all messed up here. I enjoyed the books, but I don't think, given like how different they are, that they would actually work outside the framing of the book. Like, this is not a relationship that's gonna last, and I don't know necessarily how they came together with all of the differences between them.
So given what you've just said, I have a feeling you're about to say one book I really enjoyed. I
Which
feel
one
like
do
you
you
were...
think I'm gonna say?
I don't know, but I feel like you're cushioning me for something.
No. If anything, you're probably gonna be happy about one of the books that I say.
Okay, let's start with your two that you didn't think worked on the opposites attract spectrum.
Okay, so they're actually by two authors that we both really, really enjoy. So the first one is Breaking Character by Lee Winter. I do not think that the opposites attracting would actually... It wasn't believable for me, even though I liked the book. And then Losing Control by J.J. Arias.
Losing control.
That was the one with Roxy, with the 3 X's.
And the talent agent.
Yes.
Is it Adriana? Okay, curveball. Would you consider Elizabeth and Summer as opposites?
Yes.
In Breaking Bad? Not Breaking Bad.
I was gonna let it go.
But that's probably gonna happen more than once. In Breaking Character...
Could you imagine if Jesse and Walt got together, though? That's another opposites attract right there.
I guarantee you someone's written fanfiction for them.
Hadn't even considered it, but 100% if I go on AO3 right now, there is going to be Walt and Jesse fanfic.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, now that I have that image in my head.
Yeah, I wouldn't have considered Summer and Elizabeth opposites.
Yeah, and I think there is some nuance to it, but I think it actually gets framed in the age gap. So, if you think about Summer, when she pops onto set, she's sunshiny, everybody likes her, she seems a bit naive to how, like, the industry works, but she's affable, and people truly, they just fucking love her. But then you see Elizabeth, she's the seasoned actress, she's jaded, she's seen how the industry works, she fucking hates it, she's still in the closet-ish. Yeah, ish. No, not ish. Very, very in the closet, because she still takes her friends to premieres and stuff and uses them as beards. And she's grumpy. Everybody thinks she's a bitch. Everybody steers clear of her. Like, very, very opposite ends of the spectrum in not just how they act, but in their careers and life stage in general. So I think they're opposites. Do you concur? Or at least see what I'm saying there?
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Okay. But that's where I say I just don't see them being able to bridge that gap without the, like, fake dating element that got added into it. Because Elizabeth, like, right off the bat, fucking hates Summer.
With good reason.
With good reason? What are you talking about?
She spilled fake blood all over her.
It was an accident. She's new. People make mistakes when they're new coming into jobs. Like, come on.
Yeah, but I would still be a little bit pissy around the person that coated me in fake sticky blood.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to hate them, but I'm saying, like, I might not warm up to them immediately.
But that's the thing is, like, carries it so far until Summer, like, starts bringing her favorite tea. Truly, it's over the top. Like, you're a fucking adult and you're gonna hate on this young actress because she accidentally spilled something on you. And then it's not her fault that the directors loved it so fucking much because you're so hated that they continued to put it into the scene over and over.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't hate her, but I would be a little bit guarded around her.
It reads ridiculous to me. Like, this is your job. Like, shit happens. Come on. Be
Yeah,
a professional, Elizabeth.
God damn it, Elizabeth.
But yeah, I don't see it happening is the thing. Like, especially because Elizabeth, I'm trying to remember how early it's revealed in the book. It's pretty early that it's revealed that she has a thing for, like, her best friend.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. So it's not really a spoiler. It's like first third of the book.
Yeah, her friend comes to visit her on set.
Yeah. But I mean, apart from even that, like, it seems like Elizabeth at her core, like, is just done with it all. And then you have Summer, who was like a child actress who grew up in the spotlight, who fucking loves it. And I feel like they're just so different at their cores that I don't see them getting together.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think what Lee does as an author is she writes really realistic romances in the sense that they don't tend to be fluffy or romanticized. They are very much rooted in reality. And I think that's where maybe some of her characters don't gel quite so well, is because she's written them from a very, like you said, jaded perspective.
Yeah, I'd say jaded.
Yeah, Elizabeth is definitely jaded, for sure.
Okay. So, getting to the second one, though, Losing Control, J.J. Arias. Again, like the book, don't see those two ending up together. Because you have Roxy, she's a player, she's very sexual, super immature. And then you have Adriana, who's career-oriented, super rigid, very mature. And even when you start thinking about, like, them as people, I think the problem here is it's hard for us as the reader to separate Roxy, the personality, from Roxy, the actual human being. I feel like the distinction is really unclear, and there is not a world in which I see Adriana getting with Roxy, the personality.
Yeah, no, she never would.
Hell no. And so, because of how blurry that line is, I just don't see them getting together. But, kind of to that point, and that's why I say I do like the book, because it is tough to figure out where the personality ends and where the real Roxy begins. Like, I think Roxy even has a hard time figuring out where that line is because she's been that personality for so long. And so I think it's a good book just because you have to try and see her sussing out which one is which and really kind of struggling with that. So I do think it's a great book overall, kind of like asking that question of where does the personality end and where does she begin. I just don't think that, given that Roxy's still trying to figure that out on her own, that Adriana would even go near that.
But then do you think that Adriana, or maybe her presence, helped Roxy figure that out?
Yeah, I could say that probably is what helped Roxy figure that out. So, like, it's a good balance, good counterpoint to Roxy. But at the same time, I just don't know if Adriana is going to be willing to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they're still together 3 books later, but
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Gonna throw that one out there. I have not read the other books, so, like, if there's more character development, I'm not, like, leaving it outside the realm of possibility that Roxy grows, because you start to see it at the end of the book. By the end of the book, I will say that I could see Roxy as she is and Adriana getting together and staying together. But I think with that initial, like, how far polar opposites they are, I don't think they can find that middle.
Yeah. No, they are very, very different people.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it was definitely built on lust in the beginning.
Yes, and I think that's probably why, like, I could suspend disbelief and say, okay, I can see how they did towards the end or towards the midpoint, because, like you said, it is entirely built on lust. And then
even
once
though
they
don't
start,
sleep together.
Exactly. Once they start actually getting to know each other, because they can't deny that they have that lust for one another, like, then it slowly builds. But, like I said, I have a hard time believing that Adriana would put down her, like, responsibilities and her career and indulge in that lust.
Yeah. No, I do agree. That as a pairing, I enjoyed it, but do I think that they have longevity? No.
Yeah. And that's why I say, I still like both of these books. I just have a hard time believing that, like, anything lengthy would come from this, or they'd be able to get over that initial hump to actually start getting to a point where they could be together.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, we can do the fun things now. Okay, let's hear some of your faves. I want to hear them.
So, I will say, I left out the big hitters from my list. And what I mean by that is ones we've either discussed at length in previous episodes, or ones that I've left out ones from my list that we've spoken about previously. So like things like The Lay of You, To Be With You, or Vengeance Planning for Amateurs. I think were all brilliant. Oh god. But I think they were all brilliant examples of opposites attract. And they were all 5-star reads for me, but I have spoken about them before.
Not gonna lie, Vengeance Planning for Amateurs is on my list because I thought it deserved to get its little, like, hey, let's read that.
Yeah,
but
we can definitely discuss it. I'm more than happy to talk about it again.
Okay.
But yeah, so it goes without saying that I love those, but I wanted to mention ones that I haven't spoken about before. And so, for good examples, I think, of opposites attract, we have Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur.
That was an awful French accent.
I wasn't trying to be French, I just am terrible. Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur.
Okay.
We'll go with that. And that focuses on 2 women called Darcy and... So her name, I'm guessing, is Elle, but spelled E-L-L-E. So my name is spelt that way, but I pronounce it Ellie. But we'll call her Elle for argument's sake. The book starts with their first date. They've been set up on a blind date by Elle's boss, who also happens to be Darcy's brother, and it's a horrible first date. Like, everything goes wrong. And then to get Darcy's brother Brendan off her back, she says, oh no, Elle and I really hit it off. You don't need to set me up again. Which is a big fat lie. But then because Elle works with Brendan, she kind of is forced to go along with it. And it's basically the whole book is what starts out as like fake dating. And then they eventually fall in love. But they are polar opposites. So Darcy is I'm going to say this wrong, actuary, and so she's very like logical, mathematical, very precise with her language and things like that. And then you have Elle, who is an astrologer, who is yes, and Elle is she's very
not
much
a career.
Oh no, she makes it a career. She's a very successful one. So she and her roommate / best friend Margot set up a social media platform called Written in the Stars, I believe it's called. On the Stars? Something like that. And basically Brendan owns a successful dating app, and so that's why Elle's working for him, is she's integrating astrology in the dating app. But Elle is very much like wears garish glitter, hot pink clothes, texts like LOL, BRB, BFF, very much like everything Darcy despises in a person. But somehow, through this fake dating relationship, they fall in love. And I will say, I know I said to you that parts of the book I struggled with because I'm not a believer in astrology, and it is very much at points astrology heavy. And so some of that was difficult for me to get through. But the love story was solid.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they went through a lot together in terms of Darcy has like an overbearing mother and that kind of thing, and Elle helps out with that. You know, Darcy's very much okay, I can see that she's softening me up a bit. And Elle is also like, she's making me want to become more serious with my career type thing.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay. Go on.
First and foremost, I'm going to be saying, though, LOL, BRB, and BFF are not terrible things to say. That's just millennial coded, okay?
No, I just mean in terms of Darcy will literally text her like, good morning, Elle, I hope you have a wonderful day at work. Let's meet this evening at 7 p.m. Whereas Elle will be like, I know, hey Darce, C, the letter C, U, the letter U, later, 8R.
No, okay. That has no excuse.
And there are lots of examples of their text chain in the book, and that's exactly how Elle types.
I do love that, showing the whole opposites of it, but that is cringe AF. Is she sitting there with like a T9 phone? What is she doing?
I don't know, there's lots of emojis and lots of, she's somebody, and I know that you and I both do this, and if it were anyone other than you it would annoy me, but somebody that will send multiple messages when it could have been one.
Why would I send one when that's the whole thing with messaging? You can send multiple. You can stream of consciousness type. Fuck sake.
Yeah, but no, Elle will literally go, hey, Darce, how are you?
Okay, we don't do that.
No, we're not that bad, but Elle is. Elle will literally send one sentence across 7 messages.
That does reek of like she's sitting there trying to mess with like an old school cell phone.
Yeah. It's very much like that. But even like everything's opposite. So everything from their outfits to like their apartments. So Darcy's home looks like a show home or a hotel suite, whereas Elle's is very much like she has a glitter ball hanging from the ceiling and she has a like mushroom lamp coffee table, things like that.
I feel like I would hate this.
I feel like you would hate this. That's hence why I did not recommend it to you.
It's just one of those where it seems like they're making her a caricature just to prove the point that they're opposites.
Yeah. Although I will say something that I appreciated was Elle is basically, you're led to believe she's very much like an airhead for a lot of the book, whereas Darcy's this really professional, slick businesswoman. But then we learn that Elle actually did her, I think, undergrad and degree in astronomy, not astrology.
Well, that's a real thing. Why wouldn't she do anything with that?
Well, she was studying for her, she was doing her PhD, her master's in astronomy, and she basically is like incredibly intelligent when it comes to things like the cosmos and space and all this kind of thing. So you do throughout the book learn layers of each other, and you learn that obviously through their background, like Darcy had a really rough upbringing, as did Elle, with her really sort of nothing was ever good enough for Elle's parents or her family, and so they do really kind of help each other through their family trauma and that kind of thing. I don't think it necessarily is a book for you.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, but I have to admit that even though I didn't necessarily love all facets of it, I did enjoy the majority. And I think from an opposites attract perspective, they could not have been more different. But I did, by the end, believe in their love story.
It sounds like there's a sense of whimsy.
It was very whimsical. They had a whole scene outside a hotel outside of a hotel where they were arguing and they were both there in strapless dresses and it started snowing, and one of the dates, like, Elle took Darcy up to an observatory and was pointing out the constellations. There was definitely, fluff, whimsy elements.
You know how I feel about whimsy.
It has to be justified.
Exactly. That sounds cheesy AF.
Pure, unfiltered fluff. But in terms of opposites attract, they were a very good couple for that. My next one, which I actually think you are going to love when you get around to reading it, is The Order by T.J. O'Shea. So in that, we have Lucy is kind of dystopian in the sense that they live in the United States, but the United States have been sectioned off into like factions, and each faction has a leader. So we have Lucy, who is a very rich, very privileged heiress to one of the factions. Her dad is the leader of one of them. And then we have Taylor, or Eos is her like soldier name. But Taylor is a orphaned, poor soldier. And their paths cross when, and this isn't a spoiler, it happens in the first chapter or second, when Taylor kidnaps Lucy from the mansion and brings her to Order headquarters, and Order is like the resistance. But their whole like love story revolved around kind of them drawing out each other's, I don't want to say like darker sides, but they definitely went deeper than the subsurface level, So like with Taylor, she kind of made Lucy into a bit of a soldier. She had to take Lucy under her wing and was basically said, you need to protect Lucy, but you cannot stop your missions. So Lucy became like a hardened, and in the end she became like an assistant or something, and then quite high up in the military. And Lucy kind of brought out Taylor's softer side and made her more like, Taylor's already very much a deep down like romantic. She's kind of reminded me of Saf from Hearing Red.
Okay.
But then Lucy kind of brought out that romance side of her, because she was very much like, I've never had a relationship, I don't want a relationship, I'm not good for anybody in a relationship. But Lucy was like, but me. Like, love me, choose me, pick me.
Oh my god, no. Did you just quote that?
I did. I don't know if I got the quote right, but I remember the outline. Anyway. It's a really good romance. And I'd also say it's very much, like going back to what we said about Lee Winter, it's very much based in reality. Like, fantasy elements aside, it's not overly fluffy or toaster oven-y or like, unfounded romantic declarations. The book spans over the course of a year, and so we get like a really slow burn and well-earned romance from them.
Its premise kind of reminds me of No Shelter But the Stars a little bit.
Yeah. I'd say it's definitely like Romeo and Juliet-esque.
Okay.
I'd say it's definitely Hearing Red and No Shelter But the Stars.
Both books that I loved, so. I'll definitely have to check it out. So, were those all of your favorites?
Yes, like I said, I had others like The Lay of You and To Be With You and Vengeance Planning for Amateurs. They all are very much opposites attract, and I loved them all.
Okay, well, if we're going to be skipping Vengeance Planning for Amateurs by Lee
No,
Winter.
let's talk about it because I love it.
I mean, it's on both of our lists. I mean, what is there to say? Like you said, Olivia, she's naive, a bit sweet. She's definitely a pushover. So sunshiny. And then you got Margaret, who is stoic. She hates people with reason. Jaded, very much the classic Ice Queen. I know we kind of talked about her in the Ice Queen episode. But
So I was actually talking to one of my Instagram book friends, and we were doing this thing where we were just kind of going back and forth with recommendations for each other. And she told me she doesn't like Ice Queens. She's read, I think, one or two, and she just doesn't necessarily... She said she wants to like them, but she hasn't found the right ones thus far. And I was like, you have to start with Vengeance Planning for Amateurs, because...
okay. Does your Instagram book friend watch the show?
She knows about it. I don't think she watches it.
Okay. Well, if she ever does, here's my message to her. What is wrong with you?
Oh, don't worry, I already said that. I was like, Ice Queens are my fave. But she does say, she said she like wants to get into Ice Queens, but I think she maybe had read one, I didn't ask her which one, and it kind of gave her like a bad impression of Ice Queens in general, which I get. And so I was like, if you want to get back into them, Vengeance Planning for Amateurs, because Margaret is an Ice Queen, but she's also just so freaking wonderful, and I just love her.
I love her too. I mean, have we ever actually said what the premise of that book is about on this show? I don't think we have.
Don't think
okay,
so.
So for anybody who needs to read this, which is everybody, Vengeance Planning for Amateurs, Olivia, on the heels of a breakup and a penguin theft.
A stuffed penguin theft.
Why did you have to ruin that? Why would
Sorry,
you spoil that?
Sorry, did you want them to believe that a real penguin had been kidnapped from her home?
I mean, if it's going to encourage them to read the book, then yes, that's exactly what I want them to believe.
Okay, yes,
Fine.
a real penguin.
On the heels of a breakup and a penguin theft, stuffed penguin theft, Olivia decides that she has had enough of this shit, and she hires a henchwoman. Well, she puts out an ad for a henchman, ends up with a henchwoman in the form of Margaret Blackwood. But she has decided that it is time to just wreak vengeance upon all of her exes. And so with the help of Margaret, that is their mission, to set out and just put in place all of these vengeance plans.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun because she is such, I won't say she's cartoonish because she's not. It's very much grounded in realism, but at the same time, it's got cartoonish aspects.
Yeah, some of her, especially some of her monologues, are very over the top and dramatic. And it's like, I will have my vengeance.
Yes. So, like, completely the opposites. If you were trying to say, like, she is the cartoon-esque character, Margaret Blackwood would be, like, the straight man in a comedy duo.
But I just love the book itself. It just doesn't take itself too seriously. Like, it is an it's an absurd plot, and it really does have fun with that, and I loved it.
Yeah. So, can't say enough about that, but great opposites attract to it.
Yeah.
Like, just seeing Margaret indulge Olivia in this ridiculous, like, obsession she has.
Yeah. And I just love there's like a running motif throughout the book where Olivia is holding meetings like with her hench people or like holding auditions, and you just hear Margaret from her office down the hall making running commentaries about how ridiculous this all is, proper like
Yes.
winding her up, and it's so funny to read.
I need to read it again. It's one of my favorites. Like, it is up there. It makes me smile every time I just even think about it because it is just so fun.
Yeah, I might buy the paperback because I want to start buying paperback versions of my favourites, and it's definitely one of my favourites.
Look at you switching over from digital.
Never. I'm digital through and through. But my 5-star reads, I do want to have on a bookshelf.
I was actually thinking about that too, like switching out or at least purchasing through like physical copies, though I like hardback better, my favorites, and like putting them back here or something.
Yeah. Are you the one person that ordered Blood and Muscle hardback?
No.
I checked
Who
my
did
orders
that?
this morning. I don't know. One person ordered the hardback. I thought it was you.
No, not me. I went paperback.
Okay.
because I didn't want to lose the sleeve on this one, potentially. You know, like they got the little sleeve on the outside of the hard.
I love that you think that it's that fancy. This one
Oh,
has
is
no
it
sleeve.
not? Oh,
No.
well, if I would have known that, then I would have bought the hardback.
It's literally the paperback, but bigger and, solid. Yeah. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's funny, though, that you bring up Blood and Muscle, because it's also on my list of favorites for Opposites Attract.
No, I can't. I feel like I'm gonna go red and stop.
For anybody who doesn't know, Elle published a book, and it's called Blood and Muscle, and I edited it, which you can't see that.
There we go.
No.
I don't know why I'm trying to shield your glare from across the pond. There we go.
But yes, Blood and Muscle, out now. Look,
Okay.
I'm allowed to do all the commercials I want on our podcast, but also not a commercial. It is one of my favorite Opposites Attract. I know it wasn't intentionally Opposites Attract, but you cannot deny Lou and Ava are opposites.
Yeah. No, they are, for sure.
Oh, to give a synopsis for our readers, do you want to do it or should I? Are you like dying of embarrassment right now? Mm-hmm. A little bit. Mm-hmm. Good, because if I can't embarrass my friends, I don't know what the point of being friends is. Mm-hmm. So Blood and Muscle starts off with Ava witnessing a murder of I guess it's a random guy to her. I don't want to give away spoilers. But she witnesses a soon-to-be or hopeful senator, current congressman, murder somebody in the parking lot. She reports that to the police and then gets whisked away into witness protection. And when she goes to this small town, she meets Lou, who is the sheriff of said small town. And it's kind of about their romance and also Lou trying not to kill Ava while Ava is in witness protection.
Yeah. Ava is a very stubborn witness.
Yeah, a little bit. But you got Lou, and she is very much what you would picture from a small town sheriff. She's very methodical. She's introverted. She's no nonsense. She has like that calm focus that you would expect from somebody in law enforcement. And then you have Ava, who is chaotic. She is sunshiny. She's extroverted. I feel like she hasn't met a stranger. Everybody's a friend. She's a bit hyper. Obviously, having witnessed a murder, a lot of that is toned down, but you can still see it at her core that is who she is. And as she starts to settle into small town life, it starts to come back out. I honestly love it because it is one of those where you start to kind of get backgrounds on both of the women to see, especially how it was that Lou's past kind of made her into the person that she is. And it's really sweet to kind of see them rub off on each other. And I don't mean that. I'm trying to find a better way to say that without saying rub off on each other.
Someone's thinking about chapter 18 and chapter 19.
Not trying to say it that way, but I don't know, they even each other out.
Yes.
And it's not one of those where it's like they change each other necessarily, but they help the other one get over like their hang-ups to try and find that nice middle ground. But yeah, so definitely one of my favorite Opposites Attract.
Q, what else is on your list?
You don't get to do that. You have to say something. Come on, be proud of a book that you wrote. You wrote a goddamn book. You're allowed to be proud. Say something about the book.
I had fun writing it. Anissa's a great editor.
That wasn't even a compliment to the book. That's a compliment to me. Knock that shit off.
I don't know what to say. I'm very I will praise books until the cows come home, unless it's my books. I can't.
I'm not letting you get off of this podcast without saying one nice thing about the book.
I liked my epilogue. I think the epilogue.
Don't give spoilers away. Just say you liked it.
I liked my epilogue. I think it summed up the book. It ended the book on a.
Nope, that's also spoiling it. Don't do it.
I liked my epilogue. Let's go with that.
So
I promise by the time my next book comes out, I will have worked on my PR skills.
Blood and Muscle, out now. Buy it at Amazon. We don't like Amazon, but that's where it is, so.
That was like a full-on jump scare.
I'll put it back here now.
Gosh, okay.
Fine, I'll segue out of the one that's making you awkward and weird.
Thank you.
Okay, last one from me is Fearless by Robin Alexander.
Gosh, I read that so long ago. You're going to have to remind me.
Okay, so Fallon and Haley go on a cruise. So Fallon and Haley, with their separate setups, like they're strangers, they go on this cruise. They meet each other. Initially, they hate each other. They end up going on an excursion, and it's a zip line? Yes. So they end up going on this zip line excursion when the boat docks for the day. Haley is very risk averse. She does the expected thing. She's very rigid. She doesn't want to be doing this excursion. And then you have Fallon, who's like kind of wacky, adventurous, outgoing, spontaneous, and she is all about taking those risks. So they end up going down this zip line, and when they land, however you want to say that, they end up getting robbed at gunpoint in the middle of this fucking jungle. And so in order to like escape, they just run off, but then they get lost, and so the boat takes off without them. So they get stranded on this island for a little bit while they get passports and everything sorted. And so very much opposites. I wouldn't say it's like enemies to lovers, but they do hate each other because of how opposite they are. But since they have to stay for like a week because they are trying to get the passport situation sorted out so that they can actually go somewhere outside of this country, they start to needle at each other in ways where they realize that, yes, they are opposites, but they have a lot more in common, like at their core, than they thought. And they start to, I'm not going to say rub off on each other. They start, what is another way to say that without saying that?
They start to enjoy one another's company.
No, that's oddly sounds more like an innuendo than rub off on each other. How do you say that? Not...
What's another way of saying rub off on each other? It's trying to give me synonyms for rubber. Mirror each other. Your habits are becoming mine. You're in my head. Can't get you out. We're blending into each other. You're leaving your mark on me.
I feel like blending into each other is such a lesbian.
And leaving your mark on me is pretty sexual.
That's an innuendo too. Fuck it, I'll say it. They rub off on each other, okay? It's just what they do. Fallon starts to pull Haley out of her shell more and starts to get her to do like crazy things that she wouldn't do. And then Haley kind of starts to tone Fallon down a bit.
I completely forgot about Fearless. That was actually one of my first Robin Alexander books, and I loved it.
I love Robin Alexander with her comedic timing. I think we've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm. She's top-tier comedic, sapphic writing.
Definitely. And I think as far as like genres are concerned, Opposites Attract really plays well into comedy because there's so many great setups that you have of butting heads.
And lots of slapstick moments.
Exactly. And so I think that's probably why Fearless and Vengeance Planning for Amateurs worked so well for me with the Opposites Attract trope. Mm-hmm. Just because they drew out that comedy of, we should not like each other, we should not work, but we're working.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot about that one, and I loved it. And now I want to go and reread it.
You should.
I highly recommend all of the books I've recommended today. If not for their Opposites Attract qualities, but there are definitely elements that can be enjoyed in all of the books.
Yeah, definitely. All right, finally, ending on a happier note.
We're getting better at this.
We are, and it only took us like 12 episodes. All right, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. That is all we have for you today. Did you like that?
Loved that outro. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals. See, it doesn't roll off the tongue for me. I'm too tongue-tied.
No, you just gotta get like, boo, and be a reality. Well, what does that mean? No,
I don't know.
Personality. That's what I meant.
Bye, people.
No, hey, wait, let me try this again. All right, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, that is all we had for you today. If you liked it, let us know. Comment, subscribe, do all the things. We are on Instagram and TikTok, and also, throwing it out there, we are on Goodreads. I did not realize. What?
YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. But we are also on Goodreads, so if you wanted to check any of the books that we have had in this episode or any others, we're at the Sapphic Gaze podcast on Goodreads as well as all of our socials. But yeah.
Bye.